In a statement released yesterday, Minister of Police Senzo Mchunu said they have not been made aware of the reported impending arrest involving National Commissioner of Police, as reported by the City Press yesterday, and he cautioned against media speculation. Now, the report follows allegations on the investigations of Criminal Intelligence Building's procurement deal. This also comes after the head of the Police Crime Intelligence Unit, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, was arrested on a separate matter and appeared at the Pretoria Magistrate's Court with 7 co-accused on Friday on fraud and corruption charges. Let's unpack this and what it means for the country's crime intelligence investigations. We've got Chad Thomas, Criminal Intelligence Specialist and the Chief Executive Officer of IRS Forensic Investigations, joining us this morning. Chad, thank you. Thanks very, very much for your time this morning.
Yeah, and thank you so much and good morning to the viewers.
What did you make of yesterday's City Press report on that possible imminent arrest of the National Police Commissioner, due to this investigation on the procurement deal worth more than 120 million rand?
Look, it's exceptionally disconcerting. Our country finds itself in the midst of a time wave, and we can't afford to have one of the most important components of crime intelligence in any way linked to criminality. And this isn't the first time. We saw it previously with General Mchunu, we saw it with Joe Mabaso, and these are issues that really need to be sorted out.
All right. So, I mean, when we look at the statement that was released yesterday, the Minister of Police went and said that he noted with concern this media report speculating about the imminent arrest, and they've not been made aware of any such impending arrest. I mean, where would these allegations come from?
Look, the rumour mill is going to be in overdrive, and there's going to be a lot of speculation at this point. One must understand that the police are in a position now where they are under the spotlight. Crime has become impacting everybody that lives in this country. It also impacts the way foreign investors live. Everybody wants to understand why there hasn't been correct oversight. And that's perhaps where these rumours are beginning. But it's not just oversight from the police that one would anticipate. You'd also anticipate that there'd be oversight from the Inspector General of Intelligence, the Police Oversight Committee in Parliament. So there's a lot that needs to be unpacked in respect to this. But for me, the takeaway from all of this, and there's a couple of takeaways, but the key takeaways is we haven't seen so many senior officials being targeted, and I say targeted as targets of criminal investigations for a very long time. Yeah. And we have seen this in the past. Of course, we know about Salebi, we know about Pakhlani, we know about Mabaso, but we haven't seen so many people at once being taken and placed in the dock. We have seen a purge previously. In 1992, we saw 19 police generals removed from their post by F.W. de Klerk because he wanted to move forward with a democratic transition. And perhaps this is something that's in the move. Perhaps what we've seen here is a move towards getting rid of bad apples within the police so that the police can function at full capacity, because it is one of the most serious areas of concern in our country. And of course, with the national dialogue coming up, you're going to want to have the president be able to report back to the people to say, listen, we are looking at one of those most serious issues that affects each and every one of us.
Yeah, and it is important. I mean, this is, as we say, you mention it. I mean, we've had so many different instances, so many crime bosses, so many different cases that we've seen. Some obviously yielding convictions, others not. I mean, they're still sitting before the courts. But the Criminal Intelligence Unit, I mean, let's focus on this. This plays a very prominent role in the country's crime-fighting efforts. The latest arrest of the head of the Police Crime Intelligence Unit, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, 7 co-accused as well. Talk to us about how this is going to tarnish its work and what the repercussions of something like this is.
Look, the rumours have been there for quite some time now in respect of monies not being spent according to the way in which they were meant to be spent. We know that there's issues in respect of a hotel that was bought, safe houses that were bought. But I think the most critical issue that people aren't talking about is that monies from the Secret Service Fund are meant to fund informers, and informers are critical. Informers are critical in the infiltration to enable the dismantling and disruption of crime syndicates. That's from a proactive perspective. And from a reactive perspective, when you look at something like what happened in Gugulethu over the weekend, where you have a mass murder, informants on the ground are once again the ones that can come up with information that's valuable and actionable. But informers are mercenary. They need to be paid. And we know for a fact that a majority of informers in South Africa haven't received their stipends for many months now. In fact, many of them only received their stipends last year. If you don't use the money that's budgeted to your division correctly, you're not going to be doing the work you're meant to be doing. And crime intelligence is meant to be at the forefront. You have units within crime intelligence that are functioning, like the anti-kidnapping task team, but it's because of their relationship with the private sector. And that unit is doing phenomenally well in disrupting and dismantling kidnapping syndicates, and could be replicated with with CIT bombings, rather, ATM bombings, kidnap for ransom, and murder for hire. We're not seeing that happening. Another thing that stands out for me as extraordinary is that it's somebody from the private sector that is the person who is insistent on driving these investigations, and it's because of his insistence that we tend to see results. It was Paul O'Sullivan involved with Celebi, it was Paul O'Sullivan involved with Pakhlane, and it's now Paul O'Sullivan again engaged in this particular investigation involving crime intelligence. One has to ask herself the question, if the state has oversight measures in place, such as the IGI, such as the Oversight Committee in Parliament on policing matters, why is it that there's an individual in the private sector that's having to keep the attention focused on what could be termed rogue police officers?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, South Africa's had persistent allegations of rot within key law enforcement agencies. We talk about crime intelligence, we talk about the Hawks, the NPA. How deep does this corruption run? Because there's never a time when we're not hearing more and more stories of this corruption and what is going on at the heart in all of it. And how do we ensure that we have effective, independent oversight mechanisms for crime intelligence?
We've established so many oversight mechanisms, whether it's the parliamentary committees, whether it's SCOPA, whether it's the IGI, whether it's IPID. But it seems as if they don't have budget. It's almost like we shoot ourselves in the foot. We create Chapter 9 institutions, we create these other organizations, and these organizations have a mandate, but they can't carry out that mandate if they don't have money. The Hawks have never been fully capacitated. They're sitting at 51%. How can they execute their duties? And this leads to a feeling of despondency, and this opens the door for corruption. You've got members that are working far too many dockets, they're working far too many hours, they don't have the resources and the capacity, and it allows criminal syndicates to infiltrate. And this is a massive problem. When IDAC was created first as the ID, they only had a 100 million rand budget. It was pushed up to 350 million rand. I'm not sure where IDAC is sitting at the moment, but it's a small unit punching above its weight. They're not quite Scorpions 2.0, but we can see that they've taken their mandates exceptionally seriously, and it looks as if they're going to be doing a lot more going forward.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up. I mean, over the years, we've seen some successful prosecutions of SAPS senior crime intelligence officers like Richard Mdluli, the late Jackie Salibi. This arrest now that we're seeing now of Dumisani Khumalo, the impact and credibility on senior leaders of the SAPS, what do you believe it'll be, and the success of this as well?
Could go one of two ways. It could be that this is the beginning of a massive purge of bad elements within the police. It could also be seen as targeting specific members and not the rest of the members.
Yeah.
But I think from the lower rankers going up to the higher rankers, it's good to see people in senior positions being held to account for very serious allegations. And that's the mismanagement of money, alleged improper appointments of staff that are senior. Because you must remember, if you're a junior member and you've made the police your career, you can become somewhat despondent if you see these things happening at the top and money not trickling down for you to be able to service your informants that are so valuable to you. So it's a double-edged sword. I think a lot of good could come from this, but I think it's just the beginning. I think we're going to see a lot more members falling.
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, we can't help but think about back in 2011 with the Becky Cele incident. The police, he challenged the Public Protector's Office report after he was named and shamed. And then, of course, he won that one. So, there's a lot since then. And the transparency of public funds and how that's spent. It's something, I think, for another conversation as well. Chad Thomas, thank you. Thanks for weighing in on this conversation. It's a big one at the moment. He's a criminal intelligence specialist specialist and the Chief Executive Officer of IRS Forensic Investigations, talking to us about the recent arrests and reports involving senior SAPS crime intelligence officers.